Coming up, a segment from KTWU, your source for public television. Afterwards, don't forget to visit ktwu.org to make a pledge to help make more local programming like this.
Hundreds of school kids converged upon the Topeka Performing Arts Center for a special performance to celebrate the state's 150th birthday. In her first story, we see what happened here as we learn about the Kansas Song Project.
The three songs that we're doing are all based on historical fact. The first one is What Jacob Riley Saw, and it's about Quantrill's raid on Lawrence.
One night in August of 1863, Missouri rebels rode out west across the dark prairie. It was their plan to get to Lawrence town. Like devils in the moonlight, they burned farmhouses down. The harvest moon had faded, darkness was too deep, so they took young Jacob Riley from his house on Cappis Creek. In nothing but a nightshirt, his fate he did foresee. Forced to be their guide that night, he struggled to get free. The town lay deep in slumber.
Part of the whole CD was to make history fun. You know, when you can sing to something, it's a lot more fun than reading a text. And so when you can put a little rhyming with it and put music to it, it makes it kind of stick in your brain a little bit more. I mean, how many times you get a song stuck in your head. So that's kind of what we wanted to do that day, was to let the kids say, well, hey, history can be really fun and we can sing a song about it.
Quantrill's raiders were taking Lawrence down, shooting unarmed men and burning buildings to the ground. Blood ran cold that day on the banks of the Kaw. God only knows what Jacob Riley saw.
It's very interesting when you take something as broad as Quantrill's raid on Lawrence and put it under the eye of a young man who was kidnapped by Quantrill and write about that specific feeling, you know, and what was happening there. It gives the connection emotionally to a historical event that you can't get other ways, by perhaps just reading something that was just facts.
That was actually one of the very first Kansas songs I wrote. And there again, I was doing a little bit of studying of my family, and I actually learned that my family was camped right outside of Lawrence when that happened. And so I started doing research about it, and during my research I found this story, and it was a true story about this little boy, and he was kidnapped by Quantrill.
So she sent me the lyrics, and I sat down with my guitar in the living room, and that was how Jacob Riley tune was first written, so that's how we hooked up. And then she called me and she had another song, and then she called me and had another song, and she was prolific in her writing of these different things, and we sorted them out, and that's how the Kansas Song Project was born.
It was kind of teeter and totter, you know. I would just kind of come up with the lyrics, and then she'd come up with the melody and the music, and so we really made a good pair to balance it out. And of course we got a hold of some fabulous other musicians. We decided early on that we didn't want to just take this on ourselves, and that we wanted to really go out and find other musicians that kind of shared that same passion about these stories about Kansas.
In 1877, the Exodusters took flight. After buying their freedom, slaves to chains and strife. Now they took off on a journey they knew would change their life. McCabe heard others.
I wrote the song after doing a little research about Nicodemus and the Exodusters, and you know, I wanted to try to capture not only the essence of that town, but the essence of the time. And you know, we don't want people to forget about that part of our history, and that was another way to immortalize that group of people.
Still they built a little town in the hopes that the rail would come. So, my brothers in the freedom, stake your claim upon this land. You'll be free in Nicodemus when they lay that deed into your hand. Well,
you know, it was very hard. We had lots to choose from, but we had to, you know, we definitely want to include the important highlights of the way Kansas was built. We're both, Cally grew up in Kansas, I grew up in Kansas. We both wanted to give something back, I think, artistically, that would last for generations.
Hot ashes still smoldered in the limestone fireplace. Out on Stinson Hill was a place the governor stayed.
Julia and Rita playing a wild game of chess. They played about an hour when the noise came from the west.
300 drunken rebels firing gunshots in the breeze, out to lynch this governor of anti-slavery.
They pounded on the door and told old Reader to come out. When he would not surrender, they began to scream and shout. Come on out here!
That is about one of the Free State governors who decided he would come to between Lawrence and Topeka. He was playing chess with a lady over there, and all the pro-slavery guys showed up and decided to demand that he came out of the house. And the gal who owned the house, she dressed him up like a woman, snuck him out in the early morning hours and had a wagon hidden down by the creek, snuck him off, and he made it to Lawrence. He would travel back and forth, but it was very dangerous at that time to do such things on that, because if you didn't want that person to be the Free State governor, you just killed him.
A wagon was waiting about a mile down by the creek. They slipped by snoring men as they lay there fast in sleep.
Dreaming of those biscuits in the morning, rushing hot. Julia tricked those men, Reader never would be caught.
We feel like maybe we've kind of sent people out on a little adventure. Our intention is to kind of get people revved up about Kansas and Kansas history.
Without a shawl over his head, Governor Reader would be dead. And without her, he surely would be found. And without her, he surely would be found. And without her, he surely would be found.